You hear about ancient battles where the underdog wins, rebels against empires, farmers against professional soldiers. But no one talks about the morning 9,000 men woke up in Kunyang and saw 430,000 enemy troops marching toward their walls. June of the year 23. Henan Province. A city so small most generals would skip it. Wang Mang sends enough men to crush 10 cities. His commanders boast they will dance in the defenders' blood. That army disappears in a single day. How? Connected to every power family in the capital. On the 10th of January, he does not wait for permission. He declares the Han finished and proclaims his own dynasty, the Xin, the New. He believes he can remake China according to Confucian ideals from 1,000 years back, redistribute land, abolish slavery, create state monopolies on salt and iron, control currency. The policies sound revolutionary, but the execution is chaos. Nobles lose estates, merchants lose trade, farmers get land they cannot farm because local officials refuse to enforce the decrees. Then the Yellow River floods. Victims eat wild plants until even those run out. They attack each other for food. Wang Mang sends officials who are corrupt and incompetent. The officials demand taxes from people with nothing. By the year 17, two men named Wang Kuang and Wang Feng, both from Xinxi and modern Jingmen, step in as arbiters between starving villagers. They gather the desperate. Within months, 7,000 to 8,000 join them. They take shelter in the Lulin Mountains near modern Yichang. They call themselves the Lulin Army, the Green Forest. Their method is simple. Raid villages far from cities, take food, survive. Within 2 years, they grow to tens of thousands. They make their base on Mount Taishan, sacred mountain of Taoism. They are the Chimei, the Red Eyebrows, less organized than the Lulin, but more savage on the battlefield. By the year 18, they are strong enough to defeat Wang Mang's armies in pitched combat. Wang Mang focuses on them first. He sends over 100,000 troops north under a commander named Wang Kuang. Different man, same name. He believes the Red Eyebrows are the greater threat. The north is the empire's heartland. The Yangtze Basin is still developing. His calculation is logical, but it gives the Lulin time. His lineage matters because prophecies spread through the villages that the Liu family will return to power. Men gather around him asking him to lead. Liu Yan agrees, but he is not alone. His younger brother Liu Shu joins him. Liu Shu is 27 years old, careful, deliberate, content to be a farmer. The young men of Chongling are terrified to join a rebellion until they see Liu Shu involved. If a cautious man like him is part of this, they figure the plan must be solid. Liu Yan merges his forces with two branches of the Lulin, the Yinchi force and the Pinglin force. Together they start capturing territory instead of just raiding. Encouraged, Liu Yan decides to attack Wancheng, the commandery capital, modern Nanyang and Henan. The assault fails, major losses. But the momentum is building across the region. Other Lulin leaders grow jealous of Liu Yan's capability and popularity. They find another Liu descendant, a man named Liu Xuan, a weak personality, currently calling himself General Gengshi. On the 11th of March, in the year 23, they proclaim him emperor. The Gengshi emperor. Liu Yan opposes this. He wanted Liu Xuan to take the title Prince of Han first, echoing the dynasty's founder. The other leaders refuse. They want an emperor now. Liu Yan becomes prime minister, but he knows his position is fragile. He shifts strategy. He pulls troops from the northern campaign and mobilizes every commandery. He appoints his cousin Wang Yi as commander-in-chief and his prime minister Wang Shun as co-commander. The orders go out across the empire. Assemble in Luoyang, march to Kunyang, crush the rebellion in one blow. The governors select elite soldiers. They gather 430,000 men. Wang Mang claims publicly it is 1 million. He also orders something unusual. He recruits 63 families known for knowledge of warfare to serve as staff officers. He appoints an elder named Juba as fortification expert. He even drives tigers, leopards, rhinoceroses, elephants to the front, planning to use them to terrify the rebels during battle. They take Kunyang, Dingling, and Yangxian in quick succession. The other group led by Liu Yan continues besieging Wancheng. Kunyang is a small town. Walls are decent, but the garrison is only about 9,000 men. Liu Shu's forces start attacking another position called Yangguan when scouts report the main Xin army is approaching. Liu Shu orders immediate retreat to Kunyang. The 9,000 defenders panic. They want to scatter and flee to Jingzhou province to the south. Liu Shu opposes this. He argues a scattered army is easy prey. He proposes they hold Kunyang while he slips out with a small force to gather reinforcements from surrounding areas. Attack from outside while the garrison holds inside. The other commanders reject the idea at first. Too risky. But as the Xin army draws closer, they reconsider. They agree. With the enemy approaching from the north, Liu Shu leads 13 horsemen out of Kunyang's south gate at night. 13 riders breaking through enemy lines to rally help. He rides hard to Dingling and Yangxian, where scattered Lulin units are posted. The Xin forces reach Kunyang within days. Over 100,000 arrive in the first wave. Wang Yi and Wang Shun set up camp. They surround the town in dozens of layers. They establish more than 100 military camps around the perimeter. The sound of drums and cymbals carries for dozens of miles. They dig tunnels under the walls. They build siege towers. They deploy rushing chariots. They concentrate every bow and crossbow they have and rain arrows down like a storm. Defenders who try to fetch water from outside must carry door panels on their backs as shields. Wang Feng, commanding inside Kunyang, loses hope. He asks to surrender. Wang Yi refuses. Wang Shun and Wang Yi believe Kunyang will fall in days. They see this as an easy victory that will establish their reputation. One of their generals, Yan Yu, suggests a different strategy. Let some defenders escape. Spread news of the defeat to Wancheng, where Liu Yan's army is still fighting. Shake their morale. Psychological warfare. Wang Yi dismisses the idea. He wants total annihilation, no survivors. His words to his troops are recorded. Annihilate all in his path. Massacre the town. Dance in its blood. The siege tightens. Also, this script is researched and factual, using sources from the Book of the Later Han, compiled by Fan Ye in the 5th century, cross-referenced with the comprehensive histories in the records of the Three Kingdoms, and the Ziji Tongjian edited by Sima Guang in the 11th century. These texts draw from eyewitness accounts and court records that survived the transition from Xin to Eastern Han. Now back to the information. Wancheng finally falls. The defender Tenpeng surrenders after a long siege with no food, no reinforcements. When news reaches Kunyang, the morale inside the city surges. They realize they are not alone. The Lulin is winning elsewhere. They prepare to break out at the first opportunity. June. Liu Xiu returns. He arrives on the 7th of July with reinforcements, 10,000 infantry and cavalry. Not enough to match 430,000, but enough to shift the equation. The Xin forces see his army approaching 4 to 5 miles out, and their morale begins to drop. They have been sitting outside Kunyang for weeks. No decisive breakthrough. Supplies stretched. Now a relief force is here. Liu Xiu's arrival changes everything inside the walls, too. The defenders' spirits lift. They prepare for coordinated action. Liu Xiu does not wait. He personally leads 1,000 men as a forward strike force. He selects 3,000 more as a flanking unit. The plan is simple. He will engage the enemy directly while the 3,000 circle to the rear and hit the Xin main camp. Wang Yi and Wang Shun watch this small force deploy and laugh. 1,000 men against 430,000. They send a few thousand troops to crush Liu's vanguard. They order the rest of their army to hold position unless specifically commanded to move. They want to handle this personally. They lead 10,000 men, including Wang Shun, to meet Liu Xiu in battle. This is their mistake. Wang Yi and Wang Shun press forward with their 10,000, but the other Xin units, following orders, do not move from their camps. The engagement turns chaotic. Liu Xiu's men fight with intensity that shocks the Xin soldiers. The Lulin fighters know this is life or death. Each man is worth 100. They break through. Liu Xiu kills Wang Shun in personal combat. The Xin prime minister dies on the field. When that happens, the psychological effect ripples through the entire Xin army. Units hesitate because they were ordered not to move without explicit command. Hesitation turns to panic. The forces collapse. Soldiers trample each other trying to flee. Chronicles record bodies piled for over 100 miles. Then nature intervenes. Fleeing Xin soldiers drown in flash floods. Tens of thousands die in the water. The rivers do not flow because corpses dam them. Wang Yi survives. He escapes on horseback with his generals Yan Yu and Chen Mao. They cross through the chaos with only a few thousand men. They ride hard back to Luoyang. The army Wang Mang assembled to crush the rebellion, 430,000 strong, is shattered. Most desert and go home. They cannot be regathered. The Gengshi Emperor commissions 2 armies. One led by Wang Kuang targets Luoyang, the other led by Shen Tujian and Li Song targets Chang'an directly. As they march, people join them. Thousands along the roads welcome the Han forces and swell their numbers. The rebel army fights through 4 miles of the city to reach the imperial palace by sundown. Young men inside Chang'an, seeing the rebels at the gates, rise up too. They storm Weiyang Palace, the main imperial complex. Wang Mang is inside. He gathers about 1,000 courtiers and officials. They make a last stand. October 5th. The mob forces its way into the palace. Parts of it catch fire. Wang Mang sits, reciting Confucian analects with tears in his eyes when they find him. A merchant named Du Wu kills him. His daughter, Princess Wang Wang, the former empress of Han, dies in the same battle. They take his head to Wancheng, the provisional Han capital where Liu Yan had been besieging. They hang it on the city wall. The Xin dynasty, proclaimed in the year 9 with grand visions of Confucian renewal, ends in the year 23. 14 years, one of the shortest dynasties in Chinese history. Wang Mang's reforms, his idealism, his attempts to restructure society, all collapse under incompetence, natural disaster, and militaries, catastrophe. The Battle of Kunyang is the hinge. Even the Red Eyebrows, General Fan Chong, comes to Luoyang expecting titles and honors. But the Gengshi Emperor's regime fractures almost immediately. His officials are uneducated former bandits who cannot govern. Infighting erupts. The first major incident happens right after Kunyang. A subordinate of Liu Yan named Liu Ji criticizes the Gengshai emperor openly. The emperor arrests Liu Ji and wants to execute him. Liu Yan tries to intercede. The emperor takes this as justification to execute Liu Yan as well. He kills the man who was the strategic mind behind the rebellion's early victories. When Liu Shu, fighting on the front lines, hears his brother is dead, he rides back to Wancheng immediately. He does not mourn. He does not speak of his achievements at Kunyang. He blames himself and begs forgiveness. The Gengshi emperor, ashamed of what he has done, spares Liu Shu and creates him Marquis of Wuxin. Liu Shu marries his childhood sweetheart Yin Lihua shortly after. He bides his time. The people of Chang'an resent his officials, who do not appreciate that locals rose up against Wang Mang. They see them as traitors for supporting the usurper first. The emperor issues a general pardon to calm tensions. When imperial officials gather for formal meetings, the emperor, who has never been trained for such occasions, appears frightened and uncomfortable. When General Smith reports, he asks questions like, "How much did you pillage today?" Confidence in his governance evaporates. Meanwhile, the Red Eyebrows, who had nominally submitted, leave the capital and return to their armies. The Gengshi emperor cannot control them. They support another Han descendant, a boy named Liu Penzi. They enthrone him and establish the era named Jianshi. Two Han restoration regimes now compete. The year 24, the Red Eyebrows divide into two columns and march west. They fight the Gengshi emperor's forces in Hongnong, modern Lingbao and Henan. The Green Forest army loses. The Gengshi emperor surrenders. The Red Eyebrows execute him. They enter Chang'an in September of the first year of Jianshi, the year 25. But they cannot govern either. They lack food and supplies. Their soldiers pillage the city. The people rebel against them. Within months, the Red Eyebrows try to withdraw. Their path is blocked. The Gengshi emperor had sent him to pacify territories north of the Yellow River. Liu Shu used that mandate to build his own base. He appoints capable officials. He wins over local warlords. He treats people with mercy instead of brutality. By summer of the year 25, after repeated urging from his followers, Liu Shu proclaims himself Emperor Guangwu, the brilliant and martial. He establishes his capital in Luoyang, not Chang'an. This marks the beginning of the Eastern Han dynasty. He spends the next 2 years defeating rivals, including the Red Eyebrows. By the year 27, his generals Deng Yu and Feng Yi force the Red Eyebrows to surrender. They execute the leaders for treason. Most remarkable, he does not kill any of the generals or officials who helped him win power. Paranoia and jealousy are common among founding emperors. Liu Shu breaks that pattern. He rules until the year 57, consolidating the dynasty that will last another 200 years. The Eastern Han becomes a golden age. Population recovers, trade expands, Confucianism solidifies as state ideology. The period produces innovations in papermaking, porcelain, and science. All of it traces back to the moment 9,000 men held Kunyang. Wang Yi's boast about dancing in blood reflects absolute confidence, but several factors converge. Terrain. Kunyang's walls are strong enough to withstand initial assaults. Morale. The defenders fight for survival and the restoration of a dynasty they believe is legitimate. The Xin soldiers fight for a regime already crumbling. Leadership. Wang Yi and Wang Shun make critical errors. They refuse to let defenders escape and spread panic to Wancheng. They refuse to bypass Kunyang and strike Wancheng directly, as Yan Yu suggests. They personally lead a small force against Liu Shu and order the rest of the army not to move. That decision fragments their command structure. Whether this is divine intervention, as contemporary accounts suggest, or coincidence, the storm amplifies the chaos. A retreating army in a storm suffers exponentially higher casualties. Coordination. Liu Shu's plan is simple, but requires precise execution. The vanguard engages, the flanking force hits the rear. The garrison breaks out at the right moment. All three elements succeed because the Xin army's command collapses when Wang Shun dies. Psychology. The moment the defenders see Wang Shun killed and the Xin forces waver, they surge. The Xin soldiers see their commanders dead or fleeing and they break. Mass panic in a 400,000-man army is unstoppable. The strategic parallels are clear. Smaller force defending fortified position. Relief force arriving at critical moment. Enemy commander making arrogant mistakes. Decisive action by a bold leader. Nature intervening. But the numbers at Kunyang are extreme even by those standards. The aftermath is equally significant. The Qin dynasty does not just lose an army, it loses legitimacy. The mandate of heaven, the philosophical justification for imperial rule, transfers visibly. Peasants and officials alike interpret Kunyang as proof that Wang Mang's reforms were against cosmic order. That connection to the Han dynasty legitimizes them in ways pure banditry cannot. Liu Yan understands this. Liu Shu refines it. By the time Liu Xiu becomes Emperor Guangwu, he has merged peasant rebellion with imperial restoration so thoroughly that scholars argue for centuries whether the Eastern Han is a new dynasty or a continuation of the old one. The consensus settles on continuation. The Qin dynasty is an interregnum, a break. The Han endures. His officials are corrupt or incompetent or both. His timeline is compressed by natural disasters he cannot control. The Yellow River's course change is catastrophic. Millions displaced. Famine spreads. No amount of Confucian idealism stops people from starving. When he sends armies to suppress rebellion, he compounds the problem. He drains resources. He alienates more people. He creates the conditions for his own defeat. The personal dimension matters too. Liu Xiu is 28 years old at Kunyang, a farmer who joined his brother reluctantly. He becomes the most important military leader on the field that day through quick thinking and personal bravery. Charging into the enemy with 1,000 men is not caution. It is calculated risk. He knows that if he can kill a commander, the psychological impact will outweigh the numbers. He is right. After Kunyang, his reputation grows. Other commanders respect him. Soldiers follow him. When his brother is executed and Liu Xiu humbles himself before the Gengshi emperor, he earns sympathy and shows he is not a threat. That restraint keeps him alive long enough to build power in the north. By the time he proclaims himself emperor, he has a real base. Capable generals, loyal administrators, popular support. Before the rebellion, when Liu Xiu visited Chang'an as a young man, he saw the mayor of the capital, the Zijinyu, and admired the position. He also saw Yin Lihua and admired her beauty. He said, if I am to be an official, I want to be Zijinyu. If I am to marry, I want to marry Yin Lihua. He achieves both. He becomes emperor, a rank far above Zijinyu. He marries Yin Lihua after his brother's death. The story reflects ambition tempered by patience. He dreams, but he waits for the right moment. That combination of vision and restraint defines his reign. The Ziji Tongjian, the comprehensive mirror to aid in government, edited by Sima Guang in the 11th century, synthesizes multiple sources and offers chronological clarity. The records of the Three Kingdoms, though focused on a later period, includes background on the Eastern Han's establishment. These texts cross-reference each other and preserve details like specific dates, troop numbers, individual actions, and even weather conditions. Modern historians debate some numbers, especially the 430,000 figure for the Xin army, but the core narrative is consistent. Kunyang was a catastrophic defeat for Wang Mang and a turning point for the rebellion. The defenders rely on walls, boiling oil, stones, and crossbow fire from elevated positions. The Lulan forces use mobility and shock. Liu Xiu's cavalry strike fast and hard. The infantry follows up. The coordination between units inside and outside the city is the key innovation. Most sieges involve one side trying to break in and the other trying to hold out. Kunyang involves 3 simultaneous attacks, 2 from outside, 1 from inside, all timed to create maximum disruption. That level of coordination suggests planning and discipline unusual for a peasant rebellion. It suggests Liu Xiu is already thinking like a general, not just a rebel leader. People believe in the mandate of heaven. Signs and omens matter. When the storm hits during the battle, contemporary accounts frame it as divine intervention. Heaven is punishing Wang Mang. Heaven is supporting the Han. Whether Liu Xiu believes this literally or uses it strategically is unclear. What matters is that others believe it. That belief translates into action. Soldiers fight harder. Officials defect. Civilians support the rebellion. The psychological dimension of warfare is as important as the physical. It is the largest palace ever built on Earth at that time. When the mob storms it, they loot everything. They set fires. Wang Mang dies in the chaos. The fight over who killed him is telling. Credit for killing the emperor means reward, status, power. Soldiers fight each other, dozens die, just to claim that credit. They dismember Wang Mang's body. They take his head to Wancheng and hang it on the city wall as a trophy. The symbolism is complete. The usurper is dead. The Han is restored. By the year 37, 12 years after proclaiming himself emperor, the entire empire is unified under his rule. That unification is not just military, it is administrative, economic, and ideological. He restores the tax system. He reduces the number of officials to cut corruption. He reopens academies. He balances new text and old text Confucian schools. He strengthens inspectors to oversee provincial governors. He dissolves the commandery-defender system that let warlords recruit private armies. Every reform aims at centralization and stability. Resistance becomes less attractive. By the time Emperor Guangwu dies in the year 57 at age 62, having ruled for 32 years, the Eastern Han is secure. His son, Emperor Ming, and grandson, Emperor Zhang, continue his policies. The period from 57 to 88, the reigns of Ming and Zhang, is called the rule of Ming and Zhang. It is considered a golden age. Taxes are low, economy is strong, borders are stable. Culture flourishes. The groundwork is laid at Kunyang. That enduring cultural identity traces back to the dynasty's resilience. The fact that it survived Wang Meng's usurpation and returned stronger is proof of its legitimacy in traditional historiography. Kunyang is the moment that survival became possible, tried in later dynasties and even modern states. His failure is attributed to bad timing, natural disasters, and entrenched opposition from elites. Others see him as a delusional ideologue who ignored practical realities. He tried to impose ancient systems on a contemporary society that had moved beyond them. His Confucian literalism blinded him to how economies and politics actually function. Both perspectives have merit. Wang Meng's reforms were radical. They threatened powerful interests. They required resources and administrative capacity he did not have. When the Yellow River flooded and famine struck, he lost control. The rebellions were not just about his policies, they were about survival. When the government cannot or will not protect people from starvation, people organize to protect themselves. That organization becomes military. That military force becomes political when it connects to the idea of restoring the Han. The transition from survival to legitimacy is the key. Liu Yan and Liu Shu provide that link. They are Han descendants. They can claim the mandate. Once they do, the rebellion is no longer just peasants. It is a restoration movement. That distinction matters. It shapes how people join, how they fight, what they expect. It also shapes how historians remember them. Successful peasant rebellions are rare in Chinese history. Most are crushed. The ones that succeed usually do so by connecting to a legitimate claim to power. The Lulin does exactly that. Wang Feng and Wang Chang, the Lulin leaders who defended Kunyang, survive the battle and the subsequent wars, but do not rise to prominence in the Eastern Han. Liu Shu does not give them important posts. They fade into obscurity. Many other Lulin leaders meet similar fates. They helped overthrow Wang Meng, but they do not fit in a restored imperial government. They are too rough, too uneducated, too tied to banditry. Liu Shu needs administrators, not just fighters. He recruits scholars and local gentry who have education and administrative experience. This creates tension. Some Lulin veterans resent being sidelined, but Liu Shu manages it carefully. He rewards them enough to keep them loyal, but not enough to give them real power. It is a delicate balance. After they overthrow the Gengshi Emperor and enter Chang'an, they prove completely incapable of governance. They loot the city, they cannot organize supply lines, they cannot control their own soldiers. Within months, the city is starving. The people hate them. When they try to withdraw east, Liu Shu's armies block their path. They surrender. The leaders are executed. The soldiers are integrated into Liu Shu's forces or sent home. The contrast between the Red Eyebrows and Liu Shu is stark. The Red Eyebrows are brilliant on the battlefield, but hopeless at everything else. Liu Shu is competent in both war and peace. That competence is why he builds a dynasty that lasts. Control of Henan means control of the corridor between the Yellow River and the Yangtze River. Luoyang and Chang'an, the two great capitals, are both in this region. The Qin, the Western Han, the Xin, the Eastern Han, all base their power here. Kunyang is small, but it sits on a strategic route. The Xin army cannot bypass it because leaving a hostile garrison in their rear is too dangerous. They also cannot ignore it because taking it quickly would break the rebellion's morale. That is why Wang Yi and Wang Shun commit so heavily. They see it as a stepping stone. Instead, it becomes a graveyard. He wants to crush Kunyang so completely that other rebels lose hope. But his refusal to accept Wanfeng's surrender has the opposite effect. The defenders know they cannot give up. They have to fight to the death. That desperation makes them more dangerous. It also means that when they win, the victory is absolute. A negotiated surrender might leave Xin forces intact. A total collapse destroys them. Wang Yi's arrogance turns a tactical decision into a strategic disaster. The sources mention them being driven to the front, but do not describe them in the battle itself. Possibly they are meant for psychological effect and are not used once the fighting starts. Possibly they panic in the storm and add to the chaos. Either way, their presence shows the scale of resources Wang Meng commits. He is pulling out every possible advantage. It does not help. Wang Meng's currency reforms debase coinage. He introduces new currencies, then changes them repeatedly. Merchants cannot price goods. Trade collapses. He nationalizes land, then redistributes it, but local officials refuse to enforce the policy. Nobles hide their holdings. The state monopolies on salt and iron enrich corrupt officials, but do not stabilize prices. The 6 economic adjustment agencies Wang Meng sets up in major cities, Chang'an, Luoyang, Handan, Linzi, Wencheng, Chengdu, are supposed to control price fluctuations by buying surplus and selling when prices rise. In practice, they become another layer of bureaucracy, extracting bribes. The sloth tax, charging penalties for uncultivated land or idle houses or refusal to work, punishes people who cannot find work or live in poor, mountainous regions. The system is designed by someone who has never dealt with real poverty. The southern branch flows until Han engineers dam it in the year 70. That is 59 years of disruption. Millions of people are displaced in the first floods. Famine spreads. Epidemics follow. These are the conditions that birth the rebellions. Wang Meng cannot fix them. His reforms might have worked in a stable environment. In the chaos of the floods, they make things worse. He loses the mandate of heaven not because of ideology, but because he cannot protect people from disaster. They ignore the strength of Kunyang's defenses. They split their forces by leading a small detachment while ordering the main army to hold position. They refuse to bypass Kunyang or accept surrender. They do not react quickly when Liu Shu arrives. They do not coordinate units when the battle turns. Every mistake compounds. The result is catastrophe. Strike decisively. Maintain morale. He understands that 9,000 men in a fortified position can hold against a larger force if they believe they can win. He understands that a relief force does not need to outnumber the enemy. It needs to disrupt them at the right moment. He understands that killing a commander can break an army's cohesion. He executes the plan himself. He leads the 1,000-man charge. He kills Wang Shun personally. That is leadership. He does not ask his men to take risks he will not take. That earns loyalty. Million. That is a 40% decline. Warfare is part of it. Famine and disease are larger factors. The recovery under Emperor Guangwu is real but slow. It takes decades. The fact that the Eastern Han achieves stability and prosperity is a testament to effective governance. Liu Shu's policies work. Lower taxes help farmers recover. Fewer officials mean less corruption. Border stability reduces military costs. The economy grows. Population grows. By the late Eastern Han, China is prosperous again. But the cost to get there is immense. These are the battles that define Chinese military tradition. Kunyang is in that category. The specific details, the numbers, the personalities, the weather, all become part of the legend. Whether every detail is accurate is less important than what the story represents. A just cause can overcome overwhelming odds. Heaven supports the righteous. The mandate of heaven is real and observable. The site of Kunyang today is in Ye County, Pingdingshan, Henan Province. Archaeological work in the region has uncovered remnants from the Han period, but specific battlefield remains are difficult to identify. 2,000 years of agriculture and development obscure the landscape. The walls of Kunyang are gone. The camps are gone. The tunnels are filled. What remains is the historical record and the knowledge that on this ground in June of the year 23, a battle changed the course of Chinese history. 9,000 men held a city. 19,000 men shattered an empire. 430,000 men fled into oblivion. October 23. The Weiyang Palace site shows evidence of massive fire. The city walls show breaches on the eastern side. These physical traces match the written accounts. Wang Meng's head was taken to Wancheng. His body was dismembered. The palace burned. The dynasty ended not with a quiet transition, but with violence and chaos. The contrast with Liu Shu's eventual consolidation is stark. One regime ends in fire and blood. The other builds slowly through competence and mercy. That difference defines them. Survival depends on being on the right side at the right moment. Liu Shu understands this. He does not fight for credit. He fights for position. He waits. He builds. He claims the throne only when the foundation is secure. That patience, that strategic thinking is why he succeeds where others fail. The battle does not just destroy an army, it destroys belief. Wang Meng's officials and soldiers see that he cannot protect them. They defect. The people see that the mandate has shifted. They rise. Within 4 months, Wang Meng is dead. Within 2 years, Liu Shu is emperor. Within 12 years, the empire is unified. The line from Kunyang to the Eastern Han is direct. 9,000 men in a small town hold the gate. The future of China passes through.